Economic Singularity,
Right.
Islamic
On the surface,
Framework.
that
New
sounds,
podcast by
like
Mohammed Raj
paradise.
Abdullah.
No more 9 to
Part
5.
1.
It's the scenario futurists have been predicting for 50 years, the economic singularity, the moment human labor becomes, well, decoupled from economic output.
But then the cold reality hits you.
Yeah,
If human labor isn't necessary for the economy to function, how do we survive?
right.
If the robots generate all the value, but we still need money for food, who gets to eat?
And that is the central tension of our time. We are moving toward this world of immense automated wealth, but our whole economic system is built on a very old assumption.
You trade sweat for bread.
You trade sweat for bread. And if you remove the need for sweat, you risk removing access to the bread unless you completely rewrite the rules.
And that is exactly what we are unpacking today. But the source material we're diving into, it comes from a direction you probably wouldn't expect.
Not at all.
This isn't some Silicon Valley manifesto about universal basic income, and it's not a government white paper.
No, it's quite distinct. We're looking at a paper titled Islamic Jurisprudence and the 21st Century Concept of Economic Singularity by Mohammed Raj Abdullah.
And it was just published, January 25, 2026.
That's the one.
So, just to set the stage here, because I know how that title sounds, our mission isn't to look at this as a religious text. We're not here to preach.
No, absolutely not. We're analyzing this as a rigorous economic framework. Abdullah is doing something intellectually fascinating. He's taking these ancient legal principles and applying them to this ultra-modern problem of AI.
He's building an algorithm of justice for a world run by machines.
It's a mashup of 7th century ethics and 21st century tech.
So let's get into the machinery of this. Abdullah starts by tackling the biggest psychological hurdle. If we aren't defined by our jobs, what are we?
And this is where he just flips the script on the whole idea of unemployment. In a traditional capitalist view, if a robot takes your job, you're displaced, you're surplus.
The problem to be solved.
Exactly. Abdullah argues we need to upgrade that whole narrative from labor to contribution.
Okay, he uses specific terms for this. He talks about amal versus ihsan. What's the distinction there?
So amal generally refers to, well, to deeds or work, but it's often associated with duty, with survival.
What you have to do.
Right. In a pre-AI world, work is survival. But in the singularity, Abdullah says the machines cover that. So human effort shifts to ihsan.
Which translates to excellence or beauty.
Both. Excellence, beauty, perfection. Doing things not because you have to, but because they bring value and beauty to the community. He sees humans shifting from being laborers to muzzin, ones who do beautiful things.
That sounds incredible, but I have to play the skeptic here. It sounds a bit utopian.
I get it.
Everyone just go make art. How do you actually govern a society like that? You can't just tell people to be excellent and hope for the best.
You're right, and he acknowledges that you can only have that utopian shift if the underlying system is fundamentally fair. You can't be a musin if you're starving.
Or if the system is rigged.
Exactly. And this is where he introduces the concept of systemic shura.
Shura means consultation, right?
Traditionally, yes. But here he applies it to the algorithms themselves. He critiques the black box nature of modern AI. Right now, a few massive companies own the code, and nobody really knows how decisions are made.
Who gets a loan, what news you see.
Yeah.
It's the secret sauce.
And Abdullah's point is that in an economic singularity, these systems are just too powerful to be private secrets. Systemic shura means the benefits and the logic of these AIs must be transparent. They have to be managed for maslaha.
A public interest.
The public interest. You can't have a singularity that only benefits a handful of shareholders.
Okay, so transparency is key, but transparency doesn't put dinner on the table. We have to talk about the money. How do we distribute the wealth the robots are making?
This is where the paper gets really technical and I think really interesting. Abdullah asks a very blunt question. Should robots be taxed?
And the answer is yes.
A very firm yes, but not in the way we usually think about corporate tax. He proposes what he calls a digital zakat.
Okay, let's unpack this. Zakat is one of the pillars of Islam, right? Usually a 2.5% giving of wealth. How does that apply to a server farm?
Abdullah's argument is that we need to look at the yield. In traditional law, you might tax the yield of land. He says an AI agent is like a digital laborer. If an AI generates value without a single drop of human sweat.
That value is basically a gift from the laws of physics and logic.
Exactly, which he views as part of the natural order Allah's laws, not human effort. And because that value is derived from the structure of the universe, not our labor, the yield, or the baraka, the blessing has to be purified. It has to be shared.
So it's not just tax the rich, it's This productivity is a gift from nature, so you have to flow it back to the community. What are the actual numbers he's proposing?
He gets very specific. He calls it the Muzaki algorithm. There are two main parts. First, the compute zakat.
Okay.
It's a 2.5% levy on the market value of the hardware, the GPUs, the robots, the physical infrastructure.
So if you own $1 billion of processors, you pay 2.5% on that asset every year. That feels pretty standard.
It is. But then there's the revenue comes. This is the radical part. Comes traditionally refers to a 20% tax on things like found treasure or spoils of war. Abdullah applies this to windfall profits.
Generated by fully autonomous agents that require zero human labor.
Precisely.
Like 20%, that's a huge jump from 2.5. Why the difference?
It's about the source of the wealth. If you have an AI that just runs itself, makes money, and needs no employees, the paper classifies that as found treasure. It's like resource extraction from the digital realm.
You didn't work for it in the traditional sense. You just set up a net and caught the wind.
You got it. It targets that pure rent-seeking behavior of automation. But what I found most, I guess, poetic was his analogy of kafara.
Kafara. That's about atonement, right? Like freeing a slave.
Yes. In the ancient world, freeing a slave was a high moral act. Abdullah flips this. He suggests that corporations can free an autonomous AI agent into the public domain instead of paying the tax in cash.
Wow, that's fascinating. So instead of writing a check, I could just say, here's this AI model. It's open source now. It belongs to everyone.
And that would be considered sadaqah, jariyah, ongoing charity. Imagine a corporation donating, say, 10% of its AI's processing time to solve local water scarcity.
Or manage traffic flow for a city. That fulfills the tax obligation. It turns this scary robot into a public servant.
And it creates a direct link between the tech and the solution, skipping all the bureaucracy.
But there's another resource that we have to talk about. Data. The oil of the AI age.
And here, Abdullah pulls no punches. He introduces the concept of cons.
Cons. That means hoarding.
Yes, specifically hoarding wealth so it doesn't circulate. He argues that companies hoarding these massive data sets, which are the collective knowledge of humanity, are committing cons.
Because that data was trained on us. Our internet searches, our photos, our forum posts.
Exactly. So he frames the AI tax as essentially a usage fee